Listen, I have been doing this job for 17 cycles now, and I thought I had seen everything. But then the humans showed up and suddenly the entire galaxy realized we had been living in what you might call, well, a very comfortable bubble of predictable violence. My name is Krell. Krell. I work as a pit coordinator for the Galactic Combat Federation, which is exactly as glamorous as it sounds. Which is to say, not at all. I spend most of my time making sure the fighters do not kill each other before the match actually starts, cleaning up various bodily fluids that I would rather not describe, and occasionally, very occasionally, witnessing something that makes me question everything I know about the universe. Today was one of those days. The arena on Station Helix 9 was packed, and I mean packed. 15,000 beings from 40 different species, all crammed into a space that was probably rated for about 12,000. But who is counting? Fire safety regulations are more like friendly suggestions in the outer colonies. The air was thick with the smell of exotic foods, chemical intoxicants, and the particular musk that comes from too many excited mammals in one place. They were all here for one reason. Him. Gorath. Gorath the Unstoppable. Gorath the Mountain. Gorath the guy whose medical bills I do not have to process because he never gets hit. The reigning champion of the heavyweight division for the last 8 cycles. Gorath was a Kranich, which meant he stood roughly 3 meters tall, weighed approximately 400 kilograms, and had skin that looked like it had been carved from granite by a sculptor who really hated smooth surfaces. His species evolved on a high-gravity world where the primary form of conflict resolution was hitting things until they stopped moving. Natural selection had turned them into living battering rams, and Gorath was the best of them. Nobody had ever landed a clean hit on him. Not in the professional leagues, not in the underground circuits, not even in training, according to the rumors. His defensive technique was so refined, so perfect, that watching him fight was like watching water flow around rocks. Attacks just sort of slid off him, redirected, absorbed, made irrelevant. He had won 73 consecutive matches. 42 by knockout, 31 by submission, 0 by decision because nobody lasted long enough for the judges to get involved. So naturally, when the challenger was announced, the crowd went absolutely insane. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored guests of all recognized genders and species. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena speakers. His name was Vex, a Thulian with a voice that could probably shatter reinforced glass if he really tried. Tonight we have a very special match, a challenge that has been approved by the Federation Board despite considerable concerns. Oh, here we go, I checked my datapad. The challenger was listed as one Marcus Webb, human, male, age 29 standard years, height 1.8 meters, weight 82 kilograms. I almost laughed. Almost. But I had learned not to underestimate humans, even if my better judgment was screaming at me that this was going to be a massacre. The humans had only joined the galactic community 3 years ago. 3 years. They were still figuring out which foods would kill them and which were just unpleasant. And yet somehow they had already made a name for themselves in the most bizarre ways possible. There was the incident on Trading Post Sigma 7, where a human female had beaten a Gorthian in a drinking contest. Gorthians have 3 livers. The human had 1, and it was apparently made of pure spice. Then there was the human mining crew that had survived an asteroid impact by doing something that the engineers were still arguing about in technical journals because it should not have worked according to any known physics. And do not even get me started on the human who had talked a hive mind species into questioning its existence. That therapist still sends me solstice cards asking if I am okay, so yeah, humans were weird. But weird does not mean you can fight Gorath and survive. The challenger. Vex's voice cut through my thoughts, hailing from the 3rd planet of the Sol system, representing the newly inducted human species, weighing in at a mere 82 kilograms. Standing at 1.8 meters, please welcome Marcus Webb. The human walked into the arena, and the crowd's reaction was split perfectly down the middle. Half were cheering because they appreciated the sheer audacity. The other half were making noises that I can only describe as deeply concerned. I was firmly in the latter camp. Marcus Webb did not look like a fighter. I mean, he did, but he did not. He had the build, sure. Lean muscle, good proportions, moving with that fluid grace that speaks of training. But compared to Gorath, he looked like someone had brought a toothpick to demolish a building. He wore simple fighting gear, black shorts, black hand wraps, bare feet, bare chest. His skin was that particular shade of brown that spoke of mixed ancestry, something the humans apparently had a lot of. His hair was cut short, dark, practical. His eyes were bright green, and they were scanning the arena with an intensity that made me pause. He was not scared. He should have been terrified. But he was not. He was calculating. And the champion. Vex was really milking this now. The unbroken mountain. The granite fist. The fighter who has never, and I repeat, never been struck in professional competition. Standing 3 meters tall, weighing 412 kilograms, with a record of 73 wins and 0 losses. Please welcome Gorath. The arena exploded. Say what you want about violence as entertainment, but you cannot deny the showmanship. Gorath entered like a natural disaster that had learned to walk. Each step made the floor vibrate slightly. His gray skin looked even more imposing under the arena lights, covered in those ridge-like formations that made his species so naturally armored. His eyes were small, black, and focused with the kind of predatory intensity that made prey animals everywhere very nervous. He was not even looking at Marcus. Why would he? The human was just another name on a very long list. I made my way down to the pit level. As coordinator, I had to oversee the final checks, make sure both fighters understood the rules, confirm their medical implants were active, all that fun bureaucratic stuff that keeps the Federation lawyers happy. Gentlemen, I said, standing between them at the center of the arena. Up close, the size difference was even more absurd. Gorath loomed over both of us like a particularly aggressive monument. Marcus stood relaxed, hands at his sides, breathing steady. You both know the rules. Standard Federation guidelines apply. Fight continues until submission, knockout, or technical forfeit. Killing strikes are prohibited and will result in immediate disqualification and criminal charges. The medical AI will monitor your vitals and can call the match if it detects life-threatening conditions. You both understand? Gorath grunted. It was his usual response. Eloquence was not his strong suit. Marcus nodded. Crystal clear. His voice was calm. Too calm. I had seen fighters try to fake confidence before. This was not that. This was genuine. Do either of you have any questions? Yeah, Marcus said, and I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. Does the medical AI have a good response time? Because I would really hate for there to be any delays. The crowd caught that. Some laughed. Most gasped. You did not banter with Gorath. You definitely did not imply he might need medical attention. Gorath's expression did not change. I do not think he even registered the comment as worthy of response. I sighed. All right, touch gloves, return to your corners, and wait for the bell. This was the traditional moment of respect. Fighters touched gloves, acknowledged each other as warriors, all very civilized despite the fact that they were about to try breaking each other's bones. Marcus raised his fist. Gorath stared at it for a moment like it was a particularly annoying insect, then reached out with one massive hand. Their fists touched, and that is when I saw it. Just for a split second. Marcus's eyes narrowed, his weight shifted imperceptibly, and something flickered across his face. Not fear, not excitement, assessment. He was measuring distance, timing, reaction speed. In that single moment of ceremonial contact, he was gathering data. Oh no, oh no, no, no. This human was not here to survive. He was here to win, and he had a plan. They separated, moved to their corners. I got out of the arena and moved to my station, trying very hard not to think about the amount of paperwork a fatality would generate. The bell rang. It was a simple sound, one clear tone, but it triggered an immediate response from 15,000 spectators who all started shouting at once. Gorath moved forward. Not rushed, not aggressive, just steady, patient. The way mountains do not hurry because they do not need to. He had all the time in the world. He always did. Marcus did not move. He stood in the center of his corner, weight balanced, hands up in a guard position that looked weird. Not wrong, just different. His stance was more upright than most fighters used against chronic opponents. Usually you wanted to get low, go for the legs, try to topple the giant. Marcus was standing tall. Gorath closed the distance. 3 meters. 2.5, 2, and then Marcus moved. Listen, I have watched thousands of fights. Thousands. I know what fast looks like. I have seen Threxian speed fighters who could punch 17 times in 3 seconds. I have watched Voltari jumpers who could cross an arena in a single leap. But what Marcus did was different. It was not just fast. It was precise. He stepped forward, inside Gorath's reach, and threw a punch. It was not a haymaker, not some desperate power shot. It was a short, tight, perfectly angled straight punch that came from his shoulder, through his core, and landed square on Gorath's jaw. The sound was like a hammer hitting stone. Gorath's head snapped to the side, just a little, just a centimeter or two, but it moved. The arena went silent, completely silent. 15,000 beings collectively forgot how to breathe, because Gorath had been hit. For the first time in his professional career, someone had landed a clean strike, and Marcus was not done. Before Gorath could even process what had happened, before his defensive instincts could kick in, before his brain could send the signal that said, "Hey, we just got punched," Marcus hit him again. Same target, same technique. Another straight punch, this one from the other hand. Crack! Gorath's head moved again. The champion's eyes widened. Not with pain, with shock. Pure, absolute Third punch. This one came from a slight angle, catching Gorath on the cheekbone. Fourth punch. Back to the jaw, other side. Fifth punch. Center line right between the eyes. 5 hits. 5 clean, undeniable, technically perfect hits. All landed in the space of maybe 2 seconds. And then Marcus stepped back, reset his stance, and waited. Gorath stood there. His hands were still at his sides. His defensive posture had not even activated yet. His entire fighting system, built on 8 cycles of never being touched, had not had time to respond because it had no reference point for what just happened. The crowd exploded. I have never heard anything like it. It was not cheering. It was not booing. It was pure chaos given voice. Shock, excitement, disbelief, all mixing together into a sound that probably violated several noise ordinances. I stood at my station staring at the arena floor, trying to process what I had just witnessed. Gorath, very slowly, raised one massive hand to his face, touched his jaw, looked at his fingers as if expecting to see blood. There was not any. The punches had been hard enough to register, hard enough to break his perfect record, but not hard enough to cause real damage. Not yet. Marcus was still waiting, still calm. His breathing was not even elevated. Well, I heard him say, and somehow his voice carried through the noise, that is 1 through 5. Want to see what comes next? Gorath's expression changed. The shock faded, replaced by something I had never seen on his face before. Anger. No, not anger, rage. The champion roared. It was a sound that came from somewhere deep in his chest, a primal challenge that made every instinct in my body scream run. He charged. 300 kilograms of muscle and bone and stone-like skin, moving with speed that should not have been possible for something that size, both fists raised to literally hammer this human into the floor. Marcus moved, not backward, sideways, a quick step that took him just outside Gorath's line of attack, and as the champion thundered past, Marcus threw another punch. This one hit Gorath's ribs. The sound was different, deeper, more solid. Gorath grunted. Actually grunted, in pain. He spun faster than before, one arm sweeping in a backhand that would have taken Marcus's head clean off if it connected. It did not connect. Marcus ducked under it, stepped in close, and delivered a rapid series of body shots. Left, right, each one targeting the same spot on Gorath's lower ribs. Then he was gone again, dancing back out of range before Gorath could grab him. The crowd was losing their collective minds. I saw a Voltari jump so high in excitement that he hit the ceiling. Someone's drink went flying. An argument broke out in Section 12 over whether what we were watching was even legal. I checked the medical readouts. Both fighters were fine. Elevated heart rates, elevated adrenaline, but nothing dangerous yet. Gorath was breathing harder now, not from exhaustion, from fury. His perfect record, his untouchable reputation, was being dismantled by a human who weighed less than one of his arms. He changed tactics, stopped charging, started stalking, moving with more deliberation, hands up in an actual guard position now, eyes locked on Marcus with lethal focus. Marcus circled, light on his feet, still calm, still calculating. "You know," Marcus said, his voice conversational despite the fact that he was fighting for his life, "I studied every single one of your matches. All 73. Watched them maybe 100 times each." Gorath did not respond. He was not the talking type. "You are really good," Marcus continued. "Your defense is incredible. Textbook perfect. You read attacks before they develop. You redirect force. You make people fight your fight. He paused, shifted his stance slightly. But you have never fought anyone who actually knows what they are doing. Oh, that did it. Gorath exploded forward. Not with a charge but with a combination, a jab, a cross, a hook, all thrown with technique that most people did not realize Kranich possessed. Marcus slipped the jab, blocked the cross with his forearm, which had to hurt like hell even through the adrenaline, and took the hook on his shoulder, rolling with the impact. Then he countered. A uppercut to Gorath's solar plexus, followed by a hook to the liver, followed by that same straight punch to the jaw. Gorath staggered. Actually staggered. Half a step backward, his expression flickering between pain and disbelief. The arena was beyond noise now. It was pure sound, pure energy. I saw at least 3 people faint. Someone was crying. The betting systems had completely crashed because nobody had programmed in the possibility that Gorath could lose. I looked at the clock. 4 minutes into the first round. 4 minutes. And the entire combat sports world had been turned upside down. Gorath was hurt. Not badly, not yet, but hurt. His breathing was labored. There was a slight swelling on his jaw. His movements had lost that perfect fluidity. Marcus had maybe a dozen bruises forming where he had blocked strikes. His left forearm looked like it might have a hairline fracture from that cross, but he was still moving like the fight had just started. Last chance, Marcus said, and this time there was no sarcasm, no banter, just honesty. Submit now, walk away, keep your health. We can both say it was a good fight, and nobody has to get permanently hurt. Gorath's response was another roar and a charge that shook the floor. Marcus sighed. I actually heard him sigh, and then he went to work. What happened next was not a fight, it was a demonstration. Marcus stopped defending, stopped circling, and just started hitting. Every punch was targeted. Every combination was designed to maximize damage. He was not trying to knock Gorath out, he was systematically breaking him down. Body shots to kill the legs, hooks to scramble the brain, that straight punch again and again to the same spot on the jaw. Gorath tried to fight back. He really did. But he was fighting on instinct now, and his instincts had never learned how to deal with being hit this much. 6 minutes. 7 minutes. 8 minutes. The bell rang for the end of the first round. Both fighters returned to their corners. Gorath collapsed onto his stool. His cornermen swarmed him, checking damage, applying cold packs, probably questioning every life choice that had led them to this moment. Marcus sat down calmly, took a drink of water, looked at his corner team, said something that made them all laugh. I pulled up the stats. The numbers were insane. Gorath had thrown 47 strikes, landed 9. Marcus had thrown 63 strikes, landed 51. 51 clean hits on a fighter who had gone 73 matches without being touched. The crowd was going absolutely berserk during the break. People were screaming, cheering. Some were demanding refunds because clearly this had to be fixed. Others were celebrating the greatest upset in combat sports history. I just stood there watching the human in the corner and realized something that made my scales tingle. He had planned this. All of it. Every single punch. Every movement. He had studied Gorath's perfect defense and found the one thing that could beat it: speed. Not just physical speed, but cognitive speed. Marcus was not faster than Gorath could block. He was faster than Gorath could think. The bell rang for round 2. And that is when things got really interesting. Round 2 began, and I want you to understand something about professional fighting. Most matches, especially in the heavyweight division, follow a pattern. First round is feeling out, testing distance, establishing rhythm. Second round is where the real fight starts. Third round and beyond is where you see who has heart and who has lungs. This match was not following any pattern I had ever seen. Gorath came out of his corner like a fighter who had just remembered he was supposed to be unstoppable. His team had clearly given him a serious talking to during the break. His stance was tighter, his guard was higher, and his eyes had that focused intensity that said he was done playing around. Marcus came out looking like he was taking a casual stroll. I am not even exaggerating. His hands were up, sure, but his shoulders were relaxed. His breathing was easy, and he had this tiny smile on his face that probably made Gorath want to punch him even more than he already did. They met in the center again. This time, Gorath did not charge. He had learned that lesson. Instead, he started working behind his jab. Using that massive reach advantage, throwing out probing shots, trying to establish distance and control, it was actually pretty smart. Textbook strategy against a smaller, faster opponent. Keep them at range, make them come to you. Punish them when they try to close. Marcus let him do it for about 15 seconds. Then he slipped inside a jab and the whole strategy fell apart. Here is the thing about chronic anatomy that most people do not know. Their skin is incredibly tough. Yes, dense, resistant to impact, but underneath that rock-like exterior, they have the same basic biological systems as everyone else. Nerves, blood vessels, pressure points, organs that do not appreciate being hit repeatedly. Marcus knew this. I could tell because every single punch he threw was aimed at a specific target with surgical precision. He was not trying to break through the armor. He was hitting the weak points in the armor. Gorath threw a right cross. Marcus ducked under it, stepped to the side, and delivered a perfect left hook to the liver. I saw Gorath's whole body contract slightly. That particular organ does not care how tough your species is. It hit hard enough there, and you are going down. Gorath tried to clinch, to use that massive weight advantage to tie Marcus up and drain his energy. Smart move, except Marcus had apparently studied Krennic grappling too, because he broke the clinch with an elbow strike to the inside of Gorath's arm that hit a nerve cluster and made the champion's grip go slack. Then Marcus was out again, circling, making Gorath turn, forcing him to work. "You are getting tired," Marcus said, and his breathing still sounded normal. "Oh! How is he not exhausted?" "Your footwork is sloppy. Guard is dropping. You are telegraphing your combinations." Gorath roared something that probably violated the Federation's language decency protocols and threw a spinning backfist that would have decapitated a small vehicle. Marcus was not there anymore. He had ducked under it, moved inside, and was working the body again. Left hook, left uppercut, right cross. 4 hits in less than 2 seconds, all to the same rib that he had been targeting since the first round. I heard something crack. So did everyone else. The sound carried through the arena speakers because the directional microphones picked it up. A sharp, distinct sound that every fighter knows and every fight coordinator dreads. Something had broken. Gorath made a sound I had never heard from a Krennic before. Not a roar, not a grunt, a gasp. Sharp, pained, real. His right hand went to his ribs automatically, guard dropping on that side. Marcus saw it, could have taken advantage. Could have just started hammering that injured side until the medical AI called it. Instead, he stepped back, reset his stance, waited. "Submit," he said, not aggressive, not mocking, just factual. "You have a broken rib, maybe 2. If you keep fighting, I am going to have to hurt you worse. Nobody wants that." The crowd was split again. Half were screaming for Gorath to quit to preserve his health, to live to fight another day. The other half were screaming for him to continue, to prove his honor, to not let some upstart human break his legend. Gorath looked at Marcus. Really looked at him, and for the first time I saw something in the champion's eyes that I had never seen before. Respect. He shook his head. Slowly. Deliberately. Marcus sighed again. "All right. Your choice." What happened next was brutal. I am not going to sugarcoat it. Marcus stopped targeting the body, started going for the head. Not knockout shots, accumulation shots. The kind that do not put you down immediately but stack up, scramble your brain chemistry, make your defensive reflexes slow down, make your vision blur, make your legs forget how to work properly. Jab, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, hook. That straight punch again, the one that had started everything, landing with mechanical consistency. Gorath tried to fight back. He really did. Threw big power shots that would have ended the fight if they landed. But they did not land, could not land. Marcus was reading them before Gorath even committed to the movement. 2 minutes into the second round, Gorath's legs started to wobble. 3 minutes in, his guard was at his waist instead of protecting his head. 4 minutes in, he threw a punch and nearly fell over from the momentum. The referee, a Thulian named Court, who had been standing at the edge of the arena trying to decide when to intervene, started moving closer. Marcus landed another combination. 3 shots to the head, each one snapping Gorath's skull back. The champion staggered. His eyes were unfocused. His massive hands were hanging at his sides. And then, very slowly, he started to fall. It was not like a normal knockout. He did not drop. He just sort of tilted, like a building that had lost its foundation, accelerating as gravity took over. Marcus caught him. I am serious. The human caught him, somehow managed to get under that massive weight and slow the fall enough that Gorath did not just crash face first into the arena floor. The referee immediately called it, waved his arms, signaled for the medical team, started checking Gorath's responses. The bell rang, unnecessary at this point. The crowd went absolutely insane. I thought they were loud before. This was something else entirely. This was the sound of 15,000 beings witnessing something they would tell their offspring about for generations. The medical team swarmed Gorath. Scanners out, stabilizers ready, moving with practiced efficiency. I checked the readouts. Broken rib confirmed, minor concussion, severe bruising across multiple impact sites. Nothing permanent, thankfully, but he was going to be in regeneration therapy for at least a month. Marcus walked back to his corner, sat down. His team was celebrating, screaming, probably composing the victory press release in their heads. He just looked tired. I made my way down to the arena floor, had to push through the crowd of officials, medics, camera operators, and random people who had somehow gotten past security and all the chaos. Marcus Webb, I said when I finally reached him. He looked up. Those green eyes were still sharp, still focused, even though I could see the exhaustion starting to creep in. Yeah? That was the most technically perfect performance I have seen in 17 cycles of doing this job. He smiled. Not cocky, not proud, just satisfied. Thanks. I had a good team helping me prepare. How? I asked. Because I had to know. How did you do it? Gorath has fought opponents faster than you, stronger than you, with more experience than you. What made the difference? Marcus thought about it for a moment. Took a drink of water, winced as he moved his left arm, probably feeling that hairline fracture I had suspected earlier. Information, he said finally. Everyone who fought Gorath tried to beat him with physical attributes. Speed, power, endurance, but his defense was built to handle that. It was designed around reading and reacting to attacks. He paused, looking over at where the medical team was loading Gorath onto a transport stretcher. So I did not try to be faster than his reactions. I tried to be faster than his decisions. Every combination I threw, I made sure the second and third strikes were already in motion before he could process the first one. I overwhelmed his cognitive loop, not his physical capabilities. I stared at him. You weaponized information processing speed. We are really good at pattern recognition, Marcus said with a shrug. It is kind of our thing. We had to be. Our homeworld tried to kill us for most of our evolutionary history. You either get good at seeing patterns and making fast decisions, or you get eaten by something with bigger teeth. That is terrifying. Yeah, I get that a lot. The official results were announced. Technical knockout, 2 minutes and 47 seconds into the second round. Winner by TKO, Marcus Webb. New heavyweight champion of the Galactic Combat Federation. The crowd was still going crazy. Someone had started a chant. Webb, Webb, Webb. It caught on. Spread through the arena like a virus. Marcus stood up, waved to the crowd. They got even louder, which I had not thought was physically possible. Legacy announcer was trying to set up the post-fight interview. Cameras were positioning. The sponsor representatives were probably salivating at the marketing opportunities. But before any of that could happen, something unexpected occurred. Gorath woke up. I saw him on the stretcher, his eyes snapping open, focusing with sudden clarity. He said something to the medical team. They looked concerned, tried to keep him down, but you do not keep a chronic down if they have decided to get up. He pushed himself off the stretcher, stood, wobbled for a second, then steadied. The broken rib had to be screaming at him, but he did not show it. The arena went quiet, everyone watching to see what the former champion would do. Gorath walked across the arena. Each step was deliberate, painful probably, but he kept moving, heading straight for Marcus. Security started to move forward. I held up a hand, stopping them. This was not a threat. I could see it in Gorath's body language. This was something else. He reached Marcus, stood there looming over him like always, but somehow diminished now, not in size but in presence. Then Gorath did something I had never seen him do before. He extended his hand, not for a glove touch, for a handshake, a real one, the kind that meant respect, recognition, acknowledgement of a better fighter. Marcus looked at the offered hand, then at Gorath's face, then back at the hand. He took it. They shook. Once. Firm. Both wincing because they were both beat to hell, but neither letting go until the moment was complete. Gorath leaned down slightly. Said something that the microphones did not pick up. Only Marcus heard it. Marcus nodded. Said something back. Also inaudible. Then Gorath straightened, turned and walked back to the medical team. Let them guide him out of the arena. The crowd gave him a standing ovation. He had lost, but he had lost with honor. That still meant something. Marcus watched him go, then turned to face the cameras for the inevitable interview. Marcus Webb. Vex's voice boomed. You just defeated the most dominant champion in Galactic Combat Federation history. How does it feel? Marcus thought about it. Exhausting. Satisfying. A little surreal. Honestly, you are the first human to win a major combat sports title in the galactic community. What does that mean to you? It means humans can compete, Marcus said simply. We are not the biggest, not the strongest, not the most naturally gifted, but we work hard. We study. We adapt. And apparently is enough. There were many who said this fight was a mistake, that you were going to be seriously hurt or worse. What do you say to them now? Marcus smiled. That small, satisfied smile.
I say they underestimate a human stubbornness.
We have a saying back on Earth. Do not tell us the odds. It just makes us more determined to prove you wrong. Do you have anything you want to say to Gorath? Yeah. Marcus looked directly at the camera. Thank you. You pushed me harder than anyone ever has. You made me better, and you showed more class in defeat than most people show in victory. I hope we can fight again someday when you are healed. I promise it will be a better match. The interview continued. Sponsors were mentioned. Future plans were discussed. The whole circus of professional sports grinding through its paces, but I stopped paying attention. I was watching the crowd instead. 15,000 beings from 40 different species, and they were all united in this moment, cheering, celebrating. Not because a human had won, but because they had witnessed something genuinely extraordinary. A fighter who everyone said could not be touched had been hit. A record that everyone said was unbreakable had been broken, and it had been done not through luck or accident, but through preparation, intelligence, and sheer determination. It was very human. Later, after the crowds had dispersed and the arena had mostly emptied, I found Marcus sitting alone in one of the prep rooms. His team had gone to file paperwork or celebrate or do whatever victorious teams do. He was just sitting there, ice pack on his left arm, another on his ribs, staring at nothing in particular. You all right? I asked. He looked up, nodded. Yeah, just processing. Big day, huge day. He paused. Can I ask you something? Sure. Did I do the right thing? Letting the fight go that far? I could have ended it faster, caused less damage. I sat down across from him. Thought about it carefully. Gorath needed to lose that way, I said finally. Not because he deserved to be hurt, but because he needed to understand he could be beaten. A quick knockout, he could have dismissed it as a fluke. But you systematically broke down everything he thought made him untouchable. You taught him humility. That is a gift, even if it does not feel like one right now. Marcus nodded slowly. I hope you are right. I usually am. It is very annoying for everyone around me. He laughed, winced. Note to self, do not make the coordinator joke when you have cracked ribs. Good lesson to learn. I stood up. You should get to medical. Get those injuries properly treated. You are the champion now. That means people are going to want to fight you, and they are going to study you the same way you studied Gorath. I know, Marcus said, but I studied him for 6 months. Watched every fight dozens of times. Trained specifically for his style. The next challenger? They will only have one fight of footage to analyze. One data point. Good luck finding my weaknesses from that. He smiled again. That same small, satisfied smile. You are a scary human, Marcus Webb. Thanks. I will take that as a compliment. I left him there. Walked back through the empty arena, past the cleaning crews already starting their work, past the vendors packing up their stalls, past all the normal aftermath of a major event. My datapad buzzed, messages flooding in, interview requests, analysts wanting to discuss what they had witnessed, betting companies asking for verification of results because they could not believe it was real, and at the bottom, a message from the Federation board. Congratulations on a successful event. No major injuries beyond acceptable parameters. Please file standard reports by end of cycle. Bureaucracy never sleeps. I stood at the center of the arena floor, looked up at the empty seats, remembered the roar of the crowd, the shock, the excitement, the absolute chaos of watching the impossible happen in real time. 17 cycles I had been doing this job. 17 cycles of fights, victories, defeats, upsets, controversies, all blending together into a career of managed violence and regulatory compliance. But this one? This one I would remember. Because today, a human who everyone said had no chance walked into an arena with the greatest defensive fighter the sport had ever seen and landed 5 punches before Gorath even realized the fight had begun. And then Marcus Webb landed about 47 more. Just to make his point clear, the humans had arrived in the Galactic Combat Federation, and something told me that everything was about to get a lot more interesting. I smiled, turned off the arena lights, headed for my office to start the mountain of paperwork. Tomorrow, the galaxy would wake up to the news. Analysts would debate how it happened. Fighters would study the footage. Training methods would be re-evaluated. The whole sport would shift to account for this new variable. But tonight I was just going to appreciate the fact that I got to witness history. And maybe, just maybe, I was going to place a very small bet on the next human fighter to enter the Federation circuit. Because if there was one thing I had learned today, it was this. Never ever underestimate a species that evolved by refusing to die when the universe told them they should. Humans fight with information, adaptation, and weaponized stubbornness, and that apparently is more than enough.